put these records out. I guess the reason is because you were getting ripped off for years. So
is it just that? It's not just that.
It's not just about money. Because we're not going to be able to retire, and it's not really. It's the principle of the thing, really. I think.
It's just got a bunch of carpetbaggers coming. Once Marc died, it just double increased all these naff copies, really, of badly spelled kind of compilations. There's no recognition of us or anything,
and no input from us.
No,
they just appear in shops and online, and nobody asks us our opinion or even send us a copy.
So it's more about just getting the ownership of this.
Approach. Don't mind bootlegs and stuff like that, but just that was just pure ripping off people.
Yeah, because the line between what's a bootleg and what's an official release is completely blurred now, isn't it? It used to be, I mean, I can say I never had a problem with them. You're not buying live at the Rat Club by ATV if you haven't got the proper album, mate. You know what I mean? And listen to Genesis P. Origin talking for 4
I mean, the story is that Marc used to just sell cassettes to people, like, various different labels, and they would stick them out. Whether they mastered them or not, you would never know. And of course, the quality on each one would vary. There've been some great ones live in Jimmy's in New Orleans is really good, so there's some great recordings out there, but you hear some atrocious ones. I mean, I can't remember, there was one that was a load of different disparate little bits that Marc had put together, and it was
I know that one, Marc, what we did on our holidays or whatever it is. It's appalling.
Really crap LP covers.
Yeah, awful.
I've got my goat, just crap LP covers as well, where no thought has gone into it whatsoever.
It's more of a quality control thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Certainly, it is. I mean, some of the recordings, the earlier you go, there's only so much quality control you can do on the actual recording itself, but some of them, just to get that band playing that gig live, you can put up with the kind of slightly worse quality if it's part of a package that's really nice. That's the idea.
I don't think the concept's ever been done before. I mean, you might know if it has, but to recreate an album with the same track listing from various different gigs, just culled from bootlegs. But some people have said, I hope Grotesque sounds better than Slate's. Slate sounds great to me. It sounds really urgent, and we did a good job on it, and we did spend a lot of time mastering it. But, we didn't have the Rolling Stones mobile following us around every night. This is the fall. It's the fall army, and the only thing that we can kind of take from is what is out there already. And so, I mean, the one example being In the Park. So, In the Park on Grotesque, there was 2 versions of it, and one was Abominable, and the other one was available on the Acklam Hall tape. And we nearly went for the Abominable one, and it really was shocking. But then I think Craig said, I think we should just go with the Acklam Hall and be done with it. And it was the right decision, and it sounds great, but it doesn't sound like it was recorded on the Rolling Stones mobile. It sounds like it was recorded by one of the Fall Army under his Mac,
But in a sense, the Fall Army is actually going to buy the record, isn't it? So they're not going to be shocked. And we're saying that as well, the quality isn't as bad as this conversation is.
No, not at all.
It's
great for the most part, yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I remember James Brown saying once, our mate James Brown, that Morrissey made a load of money from students listening to Smith's records in bedsits, and then with the money that he made from that, he went out and bought a load of bedsits for the students to listen to the Smiths album. And so, like you say, it's a full circle, really. It is the Fall Army who are buying it, and some people out there who are buying them quite possibly contributed to it, but you will never know. A bootleg appears, you can't credit people because...
But we've got all the text that we've got through people, and we've picked the best versions that we can. So we've whittled it down to what we consider to be the best versions, haven't we? So,
yeah, and it depends what you mean by best versions. Well, sometimes
you have no choice. I mean, Working Men's Club Block 59. I think there's
maybe 2. Well, he just sings the song over whatever we're playing at the time.
He mentions the word and it's in there because there's nothing. These are little throwaway songs we always used to have on LPs anyway.
I mean, it is a song it's quite a decent country and western song. If you ever heard it, as to who.
Yeah, but there is no proper live version, so we just had to get one.
It's him singing the song. It's just not to the tune that he's. I think it's live, isn't it? I think. But yes, it's an interesting conversation because sometimes the version's that good that you think, well, it might be slightly worse, but this is an absolutely fantastic version of it, so we'll go with that, you know.
I think this plays very well for the fall because these studio recordings aren't overproduced, shall we say.
No,
it is
that's
live
right.
in the studio, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not that different live, and often the live version could be a tighter, more focused version, couldn't it?
Especially Grotesque, because that was a proper kind of, it was a live LP. I think it was like a electric folk LP, really. And so the live recordings quite reflect it, a bit fierce of the live recordings, of course, because there's certain ones where, like me and Marc, just on acoustics, doing a kind of... I think the live ones are a fiercer version.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So do you actually prefer some of the live version?
I prefer the English Scheme. I think the English Scheme on the live album was great because it's a really weird mix, the English Scheme, because Marc turned all the drums off. If you listen to the drum track on the English Scheme, it's just the bass drum, so any drum you can hear is through the bass drum mic, which is a brilliant idea of Marc. Because he said the bass drum was just into... So for now you can hear me what I'm actually playing. It's quite nice, really.
We're going to try and get just the stem of just the drums and put it on a single for Paul to listen to.
Like a remix, a D-mix.
Well, it might be nice.
I mean, how many cassettes do you get when people send in? Is it like hundreds of cassettes? Or is it just...
It's not that. I mean, it's sourced by Barry Riley, who is one of the chiefs in charge of the Fall Army, and he's got a load of DVDs with just everything on it,
So it's ones he's collected over the years.
Yeah, and they all share them, and he sent me just all the DVDs. And then we took it to my mate's studio, but Barry had kind of picked various versions out, said it should be that one or that one, and occasionally he got little bits wrong, and Craig's pulled in a few different versions of things and stuff. But so we've got everything there, all the materials there, just on a load of DVDs with data on it,
So the original idea of doing this and doing a label to put this out, who came up with that? Was it like a pub conversation, or was it just...
They're all pub conversations.
No, me and Craig were on our way to Cranken House. We were DJing, we were field clearing the Cranken House.
I've done that as well, yeah.
and we were just talking about it, and Slates came up. We were talking about the concept of doing a label, and then Craig mentioned Slates, and then I think I said, well, we need...
Yeah, you came up with the actual...
Yeah, we need to...
It originally came from Paul kind of answering somebody on his Twitter thing saying, do you actually get paid for these releases? They were all surprised. He said, no.
Don't get paid. We don't
even get a copy of the LP.
No. I mean, we've been asked...
That sparked that. We've talked about in the...
Yeah. So that was the conversation, right, we should start doing this ourselves. And then, in the conversation in the car to Cranken House, it was like, Craig said, well, Slates is a good place to start. And like, it is weird, though, because it exists and it gets re-released. I mean, it's been re-released on a 12-inch with the Peel session on the other side and stuff like that. It's just been really kind of hacked to death. And then, the idea of just recreating it in a lifestyle, and like I say, I don't think it's ever been done before.
Which is one of the things I like about this, because it puts a spotlight back on the bands. Because if this interview had been 30 years ago, you wouldn't be here, would you? It'd just
Was
be
it
him.
dead?
No, but you wouldn't be allowed to come to the interview, would it? Just be in a pub, people really drunk.
Fall release, probably not.
Probably no.
But the Fall, I think, for people actually sort of understand band culture, is not just one bloke, is it? It's a whole band, and that's why that's what I find interesting about this. It kind of puts a spotlight back on the people actually in the band, doesn't it?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Because, we weren't, sat there. We did contribute. You might think, people might get the impression that he came in and said, play this, but that never happened. Never happened. Ever.
So
that's a whole new different argument about who actually gets the credit for the songs. I mean, there's some right traverses of justice there. I mean, the big one is Wings. Wings is credited to Marc and Steve. It's obviously Craig wrote Wings. It's what a riff.
It's an earlier version, though, isn't it?
It's a different song, though. It's a different song, though.
I mean, I adapted to it.
Well, I wrote the half of the original Wings, but it was completely different to what you did.
It's not the same song.
Unrecognisable.
Yeah. So there you go. This is how these things have progressed. But so the other one is what's on the label doesn't match what's on the PRS as well. So there's the whole lifetime of argument.
Oh, so even if you did get credited,
you wouldn't necessarily mean you got any money. Yeah.
The fact that we are sat here talking about it all these years later, it says a lot as well, doesn't it? The fact that people
still interested in it.
People still interested in things that we made 4 years ago, and
who'd have thought?
That says a lot about the band, I think.
Yeah, and the key word there is the band.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I mean, also in the band that you were the lineup of, was that Fall 2.0 or 3.0? That's when it starts to become the sound. I mean, the first album, it's kind of got its thing, but by the time you're all playing the band, it starts to become a different thing, I think.
Yeah.
So somebody's doing that, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
you
Marc,
compare Witch Trials to Dragnet and stuff. It's totally different. It was a different band.
It's like the small faces and the faces, isn't it? I mean,
but that was a band like me and Marc kind of loved. Witch Trials one, although it's an overproduced LP, that was the period when we kind of got into it. Steve.
Well, in fact, Bingo Masters hadn't been released when we first saw them and got into them, had it? But it had been recorded quite a bit before.
so it was live, really, wasn't it? Rather than records. I think you got into the Fall. I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, well, like I say, it wasn't out yet at that point in time. Yeah, we saw them supporting. It was either Penetration or Wayne County and the Electric Chairs, and it was Craig and I, and whichever was the first of those two gigs, because the Fall supported those bands both. The band just came on and we looked at each other like, fucking hell, what's this?
So when you had a lot of kind of plastic punk at that time. I mean, it's like punk kind of died quite quickly, and then you suddenly got the London image of punk. There's all the what are they called? Pins.
Safety pins. It's a long time ago.
Safety pins and plastic and all that stuff, Which the Fall weren't. They were just like kind of scruffy artists.
But none of the Manchester bands were they? None of the Manchester bands were.
No, Manchester always dressed down.
Yeah.
So when you joined the Fall, was it initially in the first rehearsals? Would you just be? I'm not exactly trying to replicate, but trying to do something within the parameters that are already in place. Or were you trying to find your space and try and push it in another direction?
It was different for me because I joined on bass when Eric got kicked out or left or whatever. So I mean, I just slotted in and wasn't writing stuff, But when Martin left, Marc got in touch and said, I would like to get Steve in on bass. Will you move to guitar? And I said, yeah. And then I said, I want Craig in as well, because we'd been writing stuff before in the Sirens, and it wasn't very good, but we both knew each other. We knew we could write stuff together, and we did. And so that just became a completely different beast.
In Staff 9 as well, anyway.
Yeah, we toured the Fall a few times.
I mean, he nicked Popstock from Staff 9, so...
Which is the name of the label, isn't it?
Which is the name of the label, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey.
So is it like you're trying to do your version of the original form, or is it just like you're just writing stuff anyway and you get somehow, because it's in that space and the way Marc mangles it becomes the Fall? How is it working?
For Dragnet, I mean,
that
we were
was
just
our
learning.
interpretation. We knew we'd heard the Fall doing the Mess of My. No, not
Print
Mess
Ed.
Put away.
Print
Put
Ed.
Away, Print Ed.
Figure Walks.
Yeah. And that was our kind of interpretation of it.
Well, we weren't as sophisticated players as Martin,
yeah.
were we? And we didn't have the same guitar sound as Martin. We were just finding our way, really. I mean, so that Dragnet is the sound of us finding our way, and Grant Shoby is finding his way as well. So it's
We didn't overthink it.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragnet's a great record, Dragnet, but it definitely is the rawest, roughest.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's a really strange production. It's really odd. It's not even like bad in the classic sense of a bad production. It's just not like any other record, is it?
Yeah. And it feels slightly out of tune, which I like.
It doesn't feel slightly out of tune. It is out of tune. That Put Away.
My ear's not good enough to work how much out of tune it is.
I remember, when we were playing.
Guitar solos on that, so it's not me.
That's the bass that's out
You
of
did the
tune.
what?
I just did the guitar solos.
Yeah. You didn't play the chords, so you didn't have to tune
it's hard
it.
to tell who out of tune. Though,
Well, once you're all out of tune, you're all out of tune, aren't you?
Well, I mean, they are apocryphal supposedly, but the story was that Fire Engines used to tune one guitar up a little bit and one guitar down a little bit to try and sound like the Fall. I will ask Davey that, but I do remember, and it was at Future Armour when we found out that...
We only had pitch pipes, and then Will Sargent introduced us to an electronic tuner.
He was sat in the van outside the back of the Future Armour, and I went over to say hello, and I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's a guitar tuner." "What's one of them then?" So we had a go on it, and then we went on stage like, what the very fuck's going on?
Mark didn't like it.
pitch pipes are harder to tune with than actually tuning by ear.
Yeah, tuning for.
Have you seen the Rolling Stones on there when they're in Hyde Park when they're trying to tune?
They're even more
really
out tuned.
Right.
It's insane how out tuned. And nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, everyone's just like, oh wow, this is what
They're all
rock and
too
roll
busy
sounds
picking
like.
dead butterflies out their hair, aren't they, to care about whether it's in tune.
So that little run of singles before Grotesque is when the band's kind of honing it down, isn't it?
So what Roach Rumble,
Yeah.
and Elastic Man.
Yeah.
I think it got a lot better than once the last.
It's a really great run of singles. I think that elevated the band. That took the band.
No, Fiery Jack's that's really well produced, Fiery Jack, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell the difference if you listen to this Psychic Dancehall, which is on the B-side of Fiery Jack and also on Dragnet, two different versions. You can tell the difference in the production. They're miles apart, aren't they?
And we're also doing great songs. I mean, our Elastic Man's got City of Goblins as a B-side. I mean, it's two great songs. Could easily both be A-sides.
Yeah.
There's a lot more space in the sound as well, I think. Like with Dragnet, everything's quite dense
And
and
that's
full.
us confident as a band. We weren't like kind of just trying to copy the first version of the four. We were like truly settled into songwriting.
I think not having two guitarists and a keyboard player made a difference as well, didn't it?
Oh,
Kind of opening the sound out a bit. Because Yvonne left. So the Roach Rumble, which has got Yvonne on, and then Marc was playing, so it's two guitars all the time. But I think that really worked. Once Marc started playing keyboards and guitar, that was great because it gives you another kind of string to your bow, really. You know, you can do different things with it.
I mean, how did the songwriting work then? Would you say sit a bit home, like other bands do, write it in acoustic and bring it down or something? Or would it be in jams? Or would it be lots of different processes?
It was all over the place, but it started with me and you, didn't it? And he'd often come to my house, and I remember writing Roast Rumble and In My Area and Jawbone. I remember those vividly, and it's that thing, the cliche. I can't remember what happened last week. But then we'd be in rehearsals, and somebody'd have a riff, and it'd just get going and take off, you know. And I've got a bit that might go with that. It's the usual cliche stuff. It started after Craig and I, and then just opened right up.
And would Mark Smith?
I do remember slightly different. Like in my era, I do remember being in a Marc's loft with Yvonne, and we kind of worked out In My Area there and then.
Was it? Because I definitely remember
You
Roach Rumble.
You had a ding, 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 ding,
Right.
and then I put the guitar on.
Right. Well, I suppose because I really remember Roast Rumble sat in the living room at my mum and dad's. I remember that. But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, we did write actually a lot of the early stuff we wrote in Marc's loft with him, New Puritan and stuff like that. So we'd go to the pub and then get back at 11:30
About
at
3
night.
o'clock when they took you out.
Yeah. And so
It took you out of 3, it was back up in 5:30, so they had 2.5 hours to write the album.
But they had an acoustic guitar up there, so like Flat of Angles was written there, you know, and also Marc had that little Beatle guitar, didn't he? Which obviously it's like midnight, 12:30, and you've got neighbours and stuff, so you're not going to have anything that's going to, you know, have a broom handle on the ceiling.
What was it you recorded there? Was that the one where somebody's shouting on the street? What was
That's
that?
New Puritan.
Yeah, was that done?
Puritan.
Was that done in that same space?
Yeah,
I remember reading that.
upstairs.
Yeah. So would Marc, would he sort of sit there and every now and then go, oh yeah, I could do something on that? Or would he sort of mumble away and go through a plastic bag full of lyrics and see what's going to fit? How does that bit work?
He never
He never
really.
said, that's brilliant, I can use that. Never, ever. We never complimented anybody.
No, did
No,
not.
just all of it. We never said, that's great, that well done.
And he never rejected anything. Yeah. We just, he used to come up with stuff, didn't we? And then that was it. Right.
Yeah, you just go and do it.
You know?
So by the time
So
you get
did
to...
he sing over it in the room then?
Yeah, in the loft.
Yeah,
In the loft.
In my era, I remember him doing his lyrics there.
Yeah.
I'm presuming that New Puritan was the same as many other songs where you taped it, but there was something about that actual tape that he decided to use that rather than then take it.
Yeah.
I presume, because
I think it was all over the place. I think he would record it, say, what have you got? We'd do something, he'd work on it, and then we'd take it away and work on it, and then it would go to the rehearsal room.
there wasn't that much work on it, though, was there? It wasn't like,
Yeah,
I'm going to
but-
take this away for 3 weeks and write a brilliant guitar solo.
No, but I mean, it was a case of just getting everything together in the rehearsal room, wasn't it? You know, because like I say, it was on a Beatles guitar and an acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
which we wouldn't do it on. No.
Steve's instrument, as we call it.
It was.
But the other thing about that is that with the fall process, if they can give it such a lofty name, it wasn't rehearse it, record it, then play it live. We played it as soon as you heard a new song, it went in the set. You know, there was no hanging about. So, and that was constant. So that by the time a record came out, you were playing the next one. You know, and that was all, which is a really healthy thing to do, I think. And it was quite hard, and it's quite easy to not do that. But I think that was Marc pushing that. The songs went straight into the.
As well, with New Purity, we didn't even develop it to a recording stage. I think that's it. We just recorded the tape he had, and we did an infinitely superior version on the Peel session.
Oh yeah.
But it never came out officially, did it?
No, it came out. But
Yeah, no, I know, but it never came out on a record up until they released the Peel
just a
session.
tape of it. It wasn't,
Yeah. No, I mean the Peel
did it
version.
in the studio.
No.
Yeah.
Did you record lots of the rehearsals then? The loft sessions, were they all recorded?
Marc recorded everything.
Everything, yeah.
Really everything. I mean, I'm sure there's a cachet of stuff that's still with the Smith kind of estate thing. That's not been kind of uncovered.
So
But
what,
he did record everything.
would he go through all that then, see if there's things he could work with, and why was he recording it? Or maybe just recording,
He
didn't
loved
go through
recording
it.
everything.
Yeah.
We'll say no more about that.
Yeah, he'd record your conversations, wouldn't
Yeah.
he? And,
Just in case interesting
just
things
in case
came up.
somebody said something that may fit in.
That's quite an interesting thing. It's quite organised in a way, because most bands don't record stuff, do
It
they?
only fell down when somebody spotted it under the door. That was, you know, under the door of the hotel room.
No, I think he thought he was working for MI5 at that point.
Would there be, like, obviously there's camaraderie between you, because you've known each other for years pre-fall. Would that be like that working Marc at that point in time, or would it be a separation?
There was two gangs most of the time.
At that time, though, it was.
Yeah, he was, yes. Before, right? You were a lot more closer is the wrong word, but I remember Marc.
There was a nurturing thing between Marc and Kay, as far as we were concerned.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of green around the gills in that way, but it did really help.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I remember the first time they asked me to come to the flat, I was like, fucking hell, what's happening here? I'm being sacked or something. But it's like a recording, so bring your acoustics, so that's a recording session. And he's like going, I saw this film the other night. It's called New Face in Hell. I really want to do something like that. I said, I don't want any courses of verses, just kind of, I just want a backing track so I can tell a story over it.
Wow.
Well, that's interesting. That's a different way
That
around
was
of
it.
writing.
So I just did
Yeah.
ding, 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 and just go high occasionally. But he didn't want a full song. He had it in his head. He just wanted to do a narrative over a musical backing. You know.
It's my favourite song on the album. That I think it's a great
Kay
song.
was there brewing
Yeah.
the tea and all that. Once you'd done it, you get the beer out. They were a very weird, nurturing couple.
They're older, weren't they, as well?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That makes a big difference then, doesn't it?
Not
I mean,
that
even-
much older,
I mean,
though.
Marc-
I mean, that's...
Marc-
No, when you look
Kay
back at
was-
it, but Marc was like my dad. He was like my dad. But
Well, 1 year's a lot when you're 20,
No,
isn't
exactly
it?
at that age, 3 or 4 years older. It's like they are.
Kay was older than Marc, wasn't
Yeah.
she?
Oh yeah.
A
Yeah.
few years older.
But what role? I mean, she's the manager, I know, for sure. But what role does she have in the creative process? Just making a tea now that is scaring everybody.
she
or-
wrote lyrics occasionally, didn't she?
She basically formed the concept of the fall as far as like, you know, no compromise and
No sellout.
No sell was a big thing of hers, which was
Heard of Malcolm X?
it
I
could
mean, she
kind
was
of-
a hippie.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, she was a hippie.
She didn't really have much involvement in the songwriting.
Oh,
A
no,
bit.
not really.
But-
I mean, she wrote the lyrics to Mother Ava's Daughter, which is kind of got controversial now.
And we also found out at some point in time that she had a microphone on the mixing desk and you could hear her over the PA, so she'd be singing along.
Slagging off the band.
I'm slagging off the band, yeah.
I've also,
Turn fucking Marc down.
Yeah, that's it. Marc's nickname for a year, Turn It Down Marc, we used to call it. I'm only on one.
so Steve, what was your role in this then, at this point in time?
Between fire and water, wasn't it?
Lukewarm water, yeah.
I was learning, really. I kind of learned on the job.
So what were you playing up there then? Was
Yeah,
it?
but-
Were you playing the Beatles guitar? I couldn't work out that bit. What is the Beatles guitar anyway?
It's a little Selco new beat. Selco new beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Marc used to show songs on it. It's like English Scheme is him going, or whatever.
Oh, so he could play
He could pick things,
rudimentary
yeah.
riffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That, you know, I wouldn't want to overstate that.
Who makes an axis? You hear ding, ding.
On the Peel version, it's the actual that guitar.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
On the
Yeah.
ukulele.
Yeah.
Much to Steve's chagrin, he said you could play it on the session.
Oh, so it's actually ukulele
It's ukulele,
Kind of,
yeah.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it
Nylon
was
string.
tuned as a bass. It should have been a ukulele.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
four-string thing.
It's different tuning,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have to pick out bass lines on that then.
On that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't have a bass in the attic at the recording.
That was Kay's guitar. She actually saw the Beatles at the Apollo, Kay.
Oh, does she?
Worth a lot of money, them now, them new big
But it
guitars.
is,
Worth a fortune.
So then after you got all that and you worked it all out, then you took it to rehearsal room to work it all up, or was it just straight into live gigs and sound checks, or?
We'd often do stuff in sound check, wouldn't we? And then try it that night.
Yeah, but
We did the thing with about the Fall is, if a band lasts that long, you do everything. Every possible combination of how you write a song or how you develop a song has been done at some point in the Fall because it's just something to keep. You know.
And we were a working band, we had to play gigs.
Yeah. That's how we made a living.
Played a lot of shows, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
We originally just stuck round the northwest because we couldn't afford to go to that there London and stuff.
Yeah.
So we do lots of Yorkshire, Leeds, Sheffield, and lots of Manchester.
Forays into Scotland.
Yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't really touring, it was just like sort of commando raids, which is a great way to do it, I think.
Because that's how you played all...
If it was accidental, it kind of really worked. I think I've thought that since a way of bands to build up a following. We would just basically do everywhere else that was drivable outside Manchester that you could drive to and come back, and it just sort of gradually grew out from that, and it really worked to build.
Because that's what you played a lot.
Yeah.
Well, famously working men's clubs, really unlikely venues where nobody else would ever play. What was that like? What was your reaction like at them places?
Now you're asking.
I think that's kind of overblown. That.
Yeah.
There is a few though,
we
isn't there? I mean, I've seen the gig list. You
had
think,
the
wow.
Yeah, I know, but I think
We had the grassroots anyway.
if you look at
back then.
if you look at most of them, like then they are working men clubs, but they were putting punk gigs on. If you look at
I also remember there weren't that many venues specifically for punk gigs or whatever, new wave gigs. Anyway,
Yeah.
you had your rafters of all that. But outside of that, satellite towns, they didn't have specific kind of punk gigs, so they would be the only club they had there, which was usually a working men's club.
there'd be two students who took it over one night a week.
Oh yeah, so put their own night on.
Yeah.
You know, full of people with flat caps and ferrets.
No.
I don't think it's like that.
Only in the band.
But we would do those shows, but they would get great reviews, and the albums were getting 5 stars from Dave McCulloch, people like that, So the shows down south that really kind of made a mark were the Lyceum shows that Straight Music used to put on. So we'd go down there and play, like they called it, the gig of the century, and it was a good gig, but it wasn't exactly that. But it was a Gang of Four, the Mekons, Human League, Stiff Little Fingers in the Fall. We did a few of those nights. We headlined the Lyceum with Felt opening for us and stuff, and they would always get a lot of attention, and they would always get reviewed and stuff. And so that was kind of we would often play the Pollies and stuff like that every now and then, but those Lyceum gigs were quite important, I think.
We played one of them with you the night that Nick Cave met Mark Smith, and
Is that right?
he looked really terrified.
Right. Right, okay.
Yeah, so and I remember seeing you play Norbrett Castle as well when you played to the under, like the kids.
You did 2 nights.
Yeah, you did the
One night,
afternoon.
did
That's the first time I ever
yeah.
saw you, to loads of kids with their fingers in their ears. Yeah.
Nothing changed.
But Grotesque was interesting because that was when it became more of a, I don't want to say proper band, but it wasn't so much these ad hoc gigs, it was actually a proper tour, wasn't it? Did you feel like there was a step up going on at that point?
Well, the band was just getting bigger, naturally. Like I say, it was particularly Dave McCulloch who really championed the band, but it was just a natural progression, I think, really,
Very organic kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not planned, I don't think.
Yeah.
Which what you could do then. I don't think you do it anymore. But just to sort of live and actually live your life just being in a band. It was an amazing thing, really. Amazing privilege to be able to do that. Nobody getting rich, but that wasn't really what it was about,
So go back to Grotesque and the recording. Where was it recorded again? Was it Sweet 16 or was it?
Yeah. Well, it was Cargo.
Then,
Most of it. We did a bit of Grant Studio in Grant had a studio in. I say studio. Grant had 2 rooms in a house in the
basement.
But so most of it was done in Cargo. Yeah.
Because by that point he can do sound, can't he? He's got the sound that sounds
definitely.
great. It's very clear and it's all in tune.
But it wasn't just Grant though, was it? It was
Mayo Thompson
and Jeff Travis as well. Jeff Travis was there as well for Grotesque.
Did he come up to Rochdale as well?
He did.
Yeah.
Were they?
Yeah, they
were there.
How I wrote it. Massive band.
Yeah, but no, I think I'm not. I can't remember whether Mayo Thompson was there for Grotesque, but I think he definitely was.
Mayo Thompson was with their Fiery Jack wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was there for Grotesque.
He was there for Grotesque as well.
He was there when we did.
Well, I mean, Jeff Travis doesn't do much
The Northern
anyway.
Rising.
No, I don't. I don't think he was.
He just sat in the...
Just sat in there, made the odd suggestion. I don't think he did anything. But
I mean, Mayo Thompson would make suggestions, but I just think that's Fiery Jack and what's it?
I'm pretty sure he was there for
Elastic
Grotesque.
Man.
Wasn't
He was.
Yeah.
How did the dynamic work in the studio? I mean, would it be Grant doing all the sound and Mark would say, was he dictatorial in the studio, Mark, or did he sort of step back a bit, or...?
Like I say, sometimes he was dictatorial, and sometimes he stepped back. Most of the time, we kind of trusted to know what you were doing by the time we recorded. I think, weren't we? I don't think there was much.
No, we'd all sit there during the mixes. You know, we didn't scarp and leading to it. I mean, I think with Grant, obviously, because we met him when we were doing those Here and Now free shows, you know, so we would go and they would pass the bucket round, and Here and Now would get all the money that went to the bucket, and we got now and go on
Great days.
pot to busy.
That's the hippies for you.
Yeah, and so that's where we met Grant, and he started doing the fall sound on those gigs with Here and Now, and that's how we got kind of invited in, you know. But he was the first experience he had in the studio. I don't know if he produced a Here and Now record, but I think the Fall was where he really cut his teeth, and that's why Dragnet is ragged, you know. But yeah, he obviously learned his trade pretty quickly.
But at that point in time, say Dragnet going into Grotesque, did you have an idea of what the engineer and the producer did? Because I remember nobody really knew, did they, in post-punk, what... People are learning on the feet here, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had no
I
interest.
had no clue.
Well, the
Yeah.
action side of it. I just did the song
Dragnet
and I
was
fucked
just
off.
John Briley,
I was
wasn't
quite
it?
happy.
John Briley was really good. He was an
he
asset. Yeah.
As much in control of that as Grant was, which is...
Depends who you ask.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
He was good, though, I remember.
Yeah. I still love going to Cargo. I thought it was a great place to record. It was fantastic. Well, it was the first studio I was ever in, so it was just...
I would say it's the number one post-punk studio. You see the stuff that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And it has a little sound as well, that
Yeah.
room.
Oh, well, that's Dragnet that's what Cargo sounded like. Really captured the sound of thing. I mean, bad sound of it, but
Didn't Gang of Four do Damaged Goods there as well?
Did.
It doesn't sound like
They don't sound like
anything
Dragnet.
like
no, but
Dragnet.
they've got that kind of.
Well, you can hear the
noise in
room.
from-
Digital by Joy Division doesn't sound a lot like Dragnet either, does it?
But they only did one track there.
What else did they
I think they
Yeah.
did.
Was it Atmosphere they did there, I think.
What?
Didn't they do Atmosphere there? It was one track.
Yeah, no,
Because
they
he was always in
did that
Stockport,
factory
wasn't he?
sampler there. I'm sure that was a Cargo. I think.
I'll have to check this
Yeah.
comment on there, but I think it was mainly done in Stockport, all their stuff.
No,
You couldn't get it
Oh,
on
but
there.
they did
Yeah,
like
I'm
Story.
pretty sure they did digital at Cargo.
Yeah. So when you're actually in there recording Grotesque, is there a feeling that this is a big step forward and it feels closer to your vision of what the Fall is?
You'd have to have had a vision, I think. But Mark
So is
said it
it-
before. We only played the way we played because it was the only way we knew how to play. There wasn't like that was what we were like. That was how we sounded, and that was. Well, I don't think we were thinking about the vision of it. Do you?
No, I mean, again, if you look at Hex, you know, when it all really, really came together, I think, personally, it was on Hex. And that was just because it was further down the line and we were getting better at it. You know, I mean, it's that simple, really. You know, we never used to analyse things.
One thing Mark was good at was making a concept of the songs. We just recorded the songs we'd written at that time, you know, and then Mark turned Grotesque into a kind of, I think, kind of a folky LP in a way.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
He
Yeah.
kind of gave coherence to it. We gave him the songs, and he's really good at arranging all that and turning
brilliant,
it
yeah.
into a concept LP. Not a concept, but you know, the
Definitely. I
idea.
think the big one with that was Jawbone. We were playing that for nearly two years before it finally fit the right place on an album. You know, which was very clever of Mark to not record it. I mean, I was quite glad because it took me 2 years to learn it, but.
Because Grotesque, there is just a feeling of the thing. All the songs kind of fit together. And Mark, was Mark's job, and he did a really good
Brilliant,
job of
yeah.
it, you know.
It's interesting you say that because when I speak to Ding at 6DB, and he did, like I said before, but he did a lot of full records, but he said there'd just be a piece of music and it sounded good, but when Mark actually sang on it, then it became a song and it made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and was that your experience as well?
Pretty
Oh,
much.
100%, yeah, definitely.
I mean, Mark's style and his thing was so identifiable. That's why he's, you know, still lauded to this day. You know, so once you put the Mark Smith fingerprint on anything. You know, it can be those other dance records that he did with what's Flay the Mouse Can't Get It and all that, the Mouse on Mars guys, you know. I mean, that wouldn't have sounded, you wouldn't listen to that and think, well, that's the Fall, the kind of the Fall DNA, but when Smith's on it, it just...
He was a great producer of his own voice as well. I mean, this came later, because he didn't really do that many overdubs with Dragnet Grotesque. But in the later period of the Fall, it's basically all that. It's him just making a voice collage and put it on, because they recorded the music beforehand, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think Grotesque was pretty much
Live, was, yeah. I think Mark sang along as we did it. Yeah.
Only came later where he did layers of vocals on it.
So when he's singing live, was he in the control room?
No, he was in the
room with you.
In the room, yeah. I mean, he'd have baffles on the drums and the amps maybe facing the wall or whatever, but apart from that, we were all in the same room, yeah.
It's got an amazing amount of clarity for a
incredible,
yeah. Yeah. So when it came to the artwork as well, which you've redone the artwork, it was completely brilliant because it looks, if you look at it not properly, it looks like the same artwork, then different. But the original artwork, did you see that before it got made, or was it just when you got the record you go, wow, we've got some artwork?
We didn't get any input on it, did we?
Yeah, I seem to remember getting the record and seeing it and thinking it was amazing.
Because for a start, it's in colour, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like a transition that between Dragnet and Grotesque, like someone switched the lights on.
Yeah. And it matches the music really good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Was the original actually anything to do with the lyrics? It's got a hint into lyrics, yeah. So it's an interpretation by Suzanne, his sister, isn't it?
I think he drew a picture for her and said, "I want this," and she obviously took that and ran with it. I think that's right, isn't it? I think it was his idea.
I've no idea. We weren't involved in that, which is a shame, but he did a good enough job.
Yeah. And with the new artwork, is that because you can't use the old artwork? So you've had to
no, we don't
kind of remix it, or you just want to put different styles?
We don't
Imagining.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen the cover of the live slates? You know, so you look at it and go, hang on a minute. You know, is it slates just with the blue cover, blue side to it rather than yellow? And then you see it's a different photograph and that. But you look at it and you think, oh yeah, slates. That's what we wanted really. We wanted you to be able to recognise where it was coming from, but not use the original. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to use the original. It's Suzanne's, and you know, and it would be very misleading because it's not that record. You know, it's a live version of it.
He's done a great job of
There's a lot of thought gone into it. There's a lot of little nods and winks and things, Easter eggs, for want of a better word, on the cover for things that are lyrics and albums. It's very clever. I mean, Craig had a lot of input into that, but it does look great.
What he's talking about, he just drew it.
Craig had a lot of.
So what was when it says your vision? So what would that vision be?
Copyright. No, it's okay. It's just kind of putting different ideas of songs. So there's the pitch. Have you got the LP there?
For the purpose of the tape, Mark is now taking it.
Ron prepared earlier.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got flats there and all that. That's like Fort Hardwick in West Gorton. I used to live just down the road from it, and that's part like Debtors Retreat Estate, which is pay your rates, isn't it? Yeah. And no, it had a thing with us highlighting spots on either Paul or Mark's face. We've never established that.
It's one of the spotty youths in his band.
It's like Mark having a pop at the band as usual. One of the members
Popping the spot.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, you don't have to insult ourselves, you know. 3 to 1.
Other people can do that.
So the head with the headphones coming out the flat is New Face in Hell.
You don't want to be giving all this away. People have been spending hours pouring over this, Craig.
That's Dixon and Doc Green that we used to watch when we were kids.
What a fucking song.
That is true, yeah.
Anyway, that kind of just...
So do you have to be careful not to tread too much on Mark's space and also not to give too much away?
Suzanne, I mean, we can't contact Suzanne. We really like a dialogue with Suzanne Smith.
We'd like to get her a copy.
Yeah, but things have been a bit strained with
very.
the Smith family. So
you don't have to explain that. I know where the fault line is.
Well, with the House of All as well.
I know where the fault line is.
Or anything, or the extricated, or
Yeah.
I mean, we are just kind of reclaiming what is ours to an extent. I mean, you know, obviously, Mark was a huge part of it, but so are we, and that always gets overlooked. You know, not by the Fall Army, so to speak. They're aware of it, but there are certain elements who just think that Marc is the only person who's got any creative DNA on these records, and that's
Different
bollocks.
storyline, you know.
Yeah.
Also your fans as well, which is interesting, isn't it? You're actually on the inside and the outside at the same time. That's what I like about these re-releases, is how the fans will do them, but the fans happen to be the people who played on the records as well. Yeah. So the concept will remain just not just, but using the live stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
That
the
is what
concept.
we're doing. Yeah, that is our thing.
I mean, we could go the other way. We could do Witch Trials. We'll have to say, but
Yeah, I mean, could you go beyond the stuff you're involved in?
Yeah, well, that's the plan. I mean, Craig's got a tape
That's not been released. It's not been on the fall bootleg circuit.
it's down as No Tape Exists, which might well be the title of the album.
Well, that's a good title, yeah.
It's something Marc gave me. He says, "Oh, there you go, like this." And when he gave it, I thought, "Shit, I must be playing shit on this one." So I never listened to it.
So is this stuff in writing, just instrumental?
it's a gig.
Oh,
It's
gig,
never-
okay.
Released.
Yeah.
And there's nobody's got a tape of it. So
What year's that?
92 or 3.
Right, cool. Yeah, I mean, there's like you say, with being fans, the thing is, nobody's saying, "Oh, we can't do this because I'm not on it." Because there's on all these, I'm not. There's some of them it's Mike, some of them it's Carl, you know. But as a fan of the band as well as being in it, we don't have to be on it to appreciate it.
It just depends what the legs are in it and how much people want it. You know, I mean, you can go on. They can go on infinitely, can't they? Even we won't be doing the ones that none of us were on, but. You know, he was in there for 19 years, he was in there for 15 years, there's plenty to go at. But there's other people involved.
And the irony of that is as well, I suppose, is the later that stuff you get, the better quality recordings you're going to have out there, aren't you? Because the equipment got better and the desk tapes.
There's something about the cassette recordings that actually works for the fall.
Yeah, I think so.
It gives it a distortion which actually suits the sound, doesn't it?
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, not going to carry on doing it for the sake of it, but if it's an interesting thing, you know, we'll do it.
Is there any other stuff you could do round this as well, or is it purely just doing the records like this?
Well, I don't
this
know.
concept.
T-shirts, we should do T-shirts. Beer mats, we're definitely doing beer mats.
They're worth showing, aren't they? The one Gareth's done for that single.
Yeah, the artworks is important, I think.
Yeah. The slates. Well, I think all the covers are pretty cool. You could have them on there.
Yeah. No, it was great the way they looked quite ad hoc, but they actually looked quite like bits of art as well. Very off the time as well, I think. Yeah.
Tote bags, of course, we'll be doing them.
Nobody buys tote bags now. Everyone's got 50 tote bags at home.
We've got 2,000 Bricks and the Extra Game tote bags.
Can't get in his garage.
You think I'm joking?
So Steve, with the bass, what was the first day you can remember when you actually got the four groove? The thing that...
Roche Rumble.
Is it when you're playing, you're like classic Steve thing, when you're just in the zone playing, and it's got that swing.
That came later. Roche Rumble, I telling you, wasn't I, the other day that Mike Lee, because we were talking about Tony Davidson's, and he was saying, was there a PA there? And there wasn't a PA there, was there? No, it was like Marc could sing through the amp. And I said, I don't think Mike Lee heard me play in rehearsal. It was only till on that second gig. So we did that Aberdeen one, which was a bit of a disaster. And then we played Edinburgh the night after. And then I can remember being in the hotel room, Mike Lee saying to me, "The bass sounds all right. You know, you can actually play it. I don't think you'd heard me before."
That was always the thing about going to studios, because you had no idea what else was playing until you went to the studio, did you?
I mean, the vocals as well, you didn't have a clue. You know, I mean, a lot before, because you don't have a clue what you're saying after you've heard it recorded, but live, I mean, first time I played live at the Fall, there was probably 2/3 of the set I'd never heard with vocals. I'd never heard, because there was no recordings of the new songs, and there was about 5 new songs in the set. So the first time I ever heard him with Marc singing them was when we played them on stage, because he wasn't going to run through them at sound check for me, like. So yeah, I mean, it was always a surprise that.
I mean, when you saw the lyrics or heard the lyrics, I mean, most bands don't care what the lyrics are, do they? But maybe you don't. But when you did, what did you think?
Well, you're not going to... I don't think you get being a band with Marc and not care about the lyrics. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's just I mean, you know, without being too wanky about it, it's just a joy to play behind some of them lyrics, you know. Because it's utterly unique, isn't it? It's not like any other band, you know. And it's not like the verse, chorus, this rhymes with that, this... Anything could happen, you know. Like you say, New Face in Hell, just to think, bloody hell, that's amazing, that, you know, story with a beginning and a middle and an end. Songs weren't like that, were they?
And would that affect the way you were playing? Would you be playing? I mean, I know the song's written before the lyrics came on, but as it develops, would you be thinking that you're playing along with the story, not just playing with the verse?
Well, a lot of them, because you'd have one verse with 4 lines and one verse with 5, and then one bit where he changed out. So you'd have to listen to them.
Oh, you'd have to concentrate.
Really concentrate to know where things change.
Some of his lyrics would be a trigger, and they wouldn't necessarily fall at the right notes in a bar. So there's like roles that you'd have to do, for maybe container drivers.
No, it's job on it. I thought, when I say this word, you go into the next bit. And I was thinking, man, I need to run up, man.
There's also Pink Press, that full art that, he'd be doing that, and it would be, but it wouldn't be dun Pink Press.
So would there be a lot of anxious glances?
Yeah.
It's amazing how tight the band was then, isn't it? I mean, it was a tight band, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And did you sort of get your own, like all bands who play together a lot, like your own kind of language? You just know. You don't know when the singer's going to change, but you know when the band's going to change.
Yeah, we just use the usual nods and furtive glances, don't we, really? nothing, no science involved.
Craig Garden was the one. You have to watch Craig for Garden and see when he was going to change, because that was up to Craig. That was like, he's going to do it, he's going to lift his arm. Right, bang, right, we're off. Right, okay.
Well, it's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
He was hammering on.
Well, that was another pinnacle period, those Peel sessions there with Garden and stuff like that, and the live gigs there. The band was really hot there, wasn't it, at that point?
That's got the right man there. Just after you went, the band was really hot then.
But it's good though, wasn't it? I mean, there's lots of little peaks as it goes along, isn't there? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's kind of that whole thing about Marc, when he thought things needed to change, he'd sack someone. But then, again, that's something else that's massively overblown.
No, I think that's rewrite your own history.
It is, definitely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you make it. It was a big blow losing Marc, but what we do now, you work somewhere else. Well, if we haven't got 2 guitars, we'll just have to work on having bigger gaps, But Marc didn't seem to think we were capable of doing that unless he frightened us into thinking we were next, Which is part of the thing was Marc.
I never thought that.
Did you not? I always thought he liked to shake things up to make it without, because he didn't think we were capable of doing it without some kind of massive trauma. Do you not think he played on that?
I don't think that works in a creative situation.
I don't think it works, but I think he thought it did.
Yeah.
I think he
that's
did
a
have that
story
grasp
told
defeat from
by-
the jaws of victory kind of mentality about him. There are people who do like. He famously did like to work on disruption, didn't he? But
At a later period, though, I mean, there's a fairly solid lineup.
It was,
but just
then
the
it's
mystery.
like kind of he started believing his own press, where he just kind of kept sacking people in the other.
I don't think he sacked that many people, though. Most people didn't get sacked.
Well, a lot. They all left then.
They left. Yeah. It might be constructive dismissal.
Jim Pritchard and those people. It's like kind of it was.
But it was. I mean, it's like when we used to have to go to Prestwich to get our wages, and it really was like the Millone on a Friday afternoon. Where you're going out the door, and you went, there you go, lad. Well done. See you Monday.
We were in the pub. We spent half our wages in the fucking pub.
Exactly. And so it really was. He was like there, look you in the eye, and give you the money, and you go, thank you, sir.
So you like to keep the control?
Well, he had that. He did have that. That was his whole shtick, wasn't it? That he was the boss, and that he run to.
That's how he liked to see it, there's that ridiculous story that he used to stand outside Rough Trade with him when they came, and the chances that he'd get himself together be outside Rough Trade at 9 a.m.
Did he see you as a threat then? And it was, in bands, the weird psychology of bands.
No, I don't think I was a threat. I think it was a pain in the arse because there was stuff like that. I mean, that, for instance, with the wages, so we used to get paid, I can't remember what, but half of it would be gone. Half of it would be gone by the time we got back from Prestwich.
When you joined,
so I went in
25
and said, right, okay, we want a direct debit. We want it going straight into the bank because we're sick of this. Because by the time we get home, and he hated that. So there was, and I hit him, which probably didn't help much. But
So how many times you hit him as New Zealand as well?
No, only the one. No, I didn't make a habit of it. I mean, he just slapped everybody up
there was
famously.
elements where Marc would. We didn't say anything really, did we?
No.
But where Marc would point out that the Fiery Jack thing, Smith, the fall, was a kind of very sly way of getting an extra credit from Marc, 50% and
a fifth, he did that a lot.
And you kind of he stopped doing it when you kind of pointed it out, didn't he?
Yeah. But there was that,
When
yeah,
he was
you know,
caught.
there was the bullying element. There's no doubt, like I say, I mean, he would just hit people because he thought they wouldn't hit them back. So that's why you hit everybody in Australia one by one. And
Yeah, I
everybody
hate
just
that
a bit-
shit, though, as if we were queuing up. That's a load of bollocks.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Just fucking leapt out of the darkness.
Oh, yeah. but I was lucky because I was the last one.
So you
Yeah.
kind
So
of
he went-
twigged.
Yeah, that's what I literally...
Well, it's
I
not like
literally
it's
saw
something
it.
you expect, is it, when you're dancing to Rock the Casbah, that the singer out of your band is going to come up and slap you across
Yes,
the
it
face?
But anyway, I was the last one in the
What
queue,
word-
and
what
so
did
when
he
it by the
say
time
with
he
that?
He said it was
Purple.
bloody deep
You,
purple,
you
yeah.
knew to react.
Black Knight.
Yeah, well, he came to me and I stopped him.
Yeah.
I grabbed his hand and pushed him against the wall, and he looked at me like, what the very fuck you think you're doing, you know? And then I went over. It is funny, because I went over, and I was just saying to him, going to say what the hell was that all about, but he was rolling his sleeve up, you know, like Laurel and Hardy. He was rolling his sleeve up, Kay was stood there, and then he hit me, and I hit him, and
That was that.
that was that.
But I'd
But
have
it's
to,
weird that somebody was in there that you
yeah,
know.
no, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was somebody in the last couple of months.
Brilliant.
With
In
that
a New Zealand band, maybe?
might have been in the band or somebody at the gig or somebody who come
Right.
to see the gigs, the tour, but was in the club as well with you, and they were just telling me the story. And I
Right.
thought,
I
wow.
remember after the gig, we went back to the hotel, sharing Marc, and Marc said, I'm going to be sacked tomorrow. Because we didn't see the fight in the alleyway, did we?
No? Was it in the alleyway?
No, no.
was in the-
really.
was it like a
It was in the club.
alcove?
He didn't
Was it
go
like an
out.
No, I followed Mark. He ran out into the alleyway, Mark, didn't he?
Afterwards, yeah.
And I went after him.
Oh, right.
And, yeah.
But he,
But
but
Marc
there was
said we were
blood.
going to be sacked in the morning. And then we got a call like really early in the morning, Marc, and go, well, this is it. The next thing is appearing on telly with Marc.
Kay came in.
A bit
That was the thing,
shiner.
wasn't it? Yeah, Kay came in and she went, you out of bed to me. I went, right, okay, am I going home? She went, no, you're going on telly. And by the way, he's been asking for that.
And I mean, everybody gets to the end point being in the fall. What's it like, the laughter bit? Is it like, does it take a bit to get back to some kind of reality?
God,
It's an odd band to be in, it's quite intense, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was leaving my best mates in the world behind as well, and my favourite band, so it was hard for me, but it did feel like kind of liberating at the same time, you know? I mean, it was scary. I was only 21, but I'd been in there since I was 16. So it was my life, and I'd not been married that long, you know, so it was just a big wide world, really. I was just kind of just about, you know, coming out of being a kid, really. So yeah, it was weird. But I mean, that is a cliche, just because I've been dead lucky in the ensuing years. But I always say the second best thing that happened to me professionally is being asked to join the Fall, and the best thing that happened to me professionally was getting kicked out, which is the way that it transpired, you know. But it's nothing that I wanted. Like I say, my best mates were in the band, and then they're going all over the world, you know. I mean, the Creepers did some European tour and stuff, but we were never that good, you know. I mean, I'd left behind my favourite band in the world. They were my favourite band in the world when I joined them, so, you know, it wasn't an easy thing, but my relationship with Marc had deteriorated to the point where it really, you know...
It would have been horrible.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it was unfixable. It wasn't, you know,
Me and him just weren't really getting on.
I know that, but in the cool light of day, if ever they were a bit more grown up about it, it wasn't exactly, you know.
Yeah, but Marc had created that character anyway, he couldn't really go on.
No, he couldn't climb down from that, I suppose. No, that was the thing.
And that's why he didn't sack me the next morning, because it would always be, oh, you sacked him because he thumped you back, you know.
Oh, it had to be...
So, you know,
yeah.
the safe distance, and then it's like, I'm going to kick you out.
The card was marked.
You what?
The card was marked at that point.
Oh, complete. That, I mean, I might as well have had the P45.
What was it like for you, Craig, after your fall stint?
Unreal, it's quite devastating, you know. Been there a long time. I was just kind of really just fed up. Because that was a weird thing, was you didn't really kind of, oh, is this right? You had all this palaver. Steve was telling me, oh, we're all being sacked, you need to speak to Marc. And I was like, oh, you're being sacked, you need to speak to Marc. And I just thought, oh, fuck this is ridiculous. I did eventually go down there a few days later, and he was hiding in the house. I think it was Lucy who answered, or whoever was in, he was with at the time. He said, oh, he's not in. And you could hear him in the fucking living room. And I thought, well, this is it, and this is what he's going to be like. All right. And then left. And then I remember seeing him on telly doing one of my tunes, Mixer. Was it?
Oh yeah. Is that one where they rehearsed?
It was like on the guitar.
Looking really 15 different guitarists.
I thought, well, that's fucking real then. There we go.
Is it quite easy to switch back to normal life, or is it like a hangover period?
Nah, went on the rock for a few years.
Yeah.
I've not heard that expression in a while. On the rock, bloody hell. That's on the rock and roll dole.
To get a fucking job, which was kind of just to cover.
But we hadn't been.
And ended up there 20 years.
It wasn't going back because none of us had we'd all been kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you were out and you were an adult and you'd never done adult kind of, it's kind of arrested development, isn't it, once you're in a band?
Isn't it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's when you sort of think, well, I'll have to get a
That's
job
where
now.
you grew up, yeah. You grew up in.
I mean, that was it for you, wasn't it, Steve? Because I know that even all of the trials and tribulations, which are in your book, which is obviously immense, but it was your intention to just see it out and see the fall through to the end, wasn't it? But
Well, I think you get to 40 and you've been in the band for 20 years, you can expect, this is me, this is what I do, and this is who I am, and the thing is, obviously, Marc tried to have some various different parachute routes out of the fall, like doing his solo stuff without the band and all that, but they were just so terrible that he had no choice but to get the band
Which
back
is ironic,
together.
isn't it? He needed the band almost, maybe more than the band needed him in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
It is kind of his solo things, and apart from, interesting bits in it, fucking went nowhere. The Nearly Man or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with Matt. He was a singer in the fall. He wasn't a writer. He didn't write books. He wasn't a poet. They're not stand up on the printed page. He's the singer in the...
Well, some English
some
stands
do.
up as a poet, I think.
Some of them do, but he's not a poet in that. The songs, aren't they? So he did need the fall, Whoever was in the fall, it's not just Marky Smith and his Go-Go Monkeys to come up. It's a band.
What?
That's what he puts. That's what he says. Good evening, we are the Fall. This is Marky Smith and his Go-Go Monkeys. Right, I'm going to have to go, I'm afraid.
Well, just finally before you go, so
Yep.
so doing this record, and doing this label, and doing the other slates as well, is this a chance to come to terms with the Fall legacy for you?
I think so. It's a chance for us to talk about the Fall. I think because we didn't. It's not something we talked about. Even when we were in the band, we didn't talk much about being in the Fall.
I mean, it's funny you saying the last time you were in the room with the four of us. I mean, the first time we were all four in a room was when we did the podcast for Steve and Paul, with Craig, because that, again, just that dynamic. I've not seen Craig for a bit. Obviously, seen Steve a lot, seen Paul quite a lot. Not seen Craig for quite a bit, and then the whole kind of the four parts of the jigsaw.
And 2 minutes in, I was back to being the baby brother. Still
Don't make a brew, Paul.
Bloody 60 this year. I'm still the baby bloody brother.
Cup of tea, Paul.